What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Sunday Iron Bowl reaction show here on the Auburn Blitz podcast. Brett and Andy going to get you started first. Wade and Randy will join us here in just a little bit. Man, what else can you say? We got a lot to say after that one. I don't know, Andy, where to start. Obviously, Alabama wins the game 28-14. It was not a good day for Auburn as far as offense. I thought our defense played pretty well for most of the game. Now, coming out of halftime, I'm not sure if they took a nap or what they did, but they had a couple bad series right there that ended up, allowing Alabama to kind of get that distance they needed to win the game. And, of course, it goes back to lack of execution on the offensive side for Auburn. I don't really know what else to say. I know we're going to dive into the specifics and the particulars of this game, but it just seemed like another big bag of excuses for Hugh Freeze when things didn't go the way they should have gone. And the actual game plan just baffled me, to be honest. We all talked this game to death this week. Everybody knew the blueprint to beat Alabama, and we did exactly opposite of that, which is not surprising with this coaching staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you could not have done more opposite stuff than what you should have done or tried to do with this offense. So I'll kick it over to you, kind of get your intro thoughts here, Andy.
Yeah, our good friend Jason Caldwell said it Friday. We did the Auburn Blitz on Friday, and he thought it was a bad matchup for the Auburn defense. Thought that they might struggle in this game, and he was exactly right. We thought, and that had to be what Auburn could do what they had to do was to contain Jalen Milroe, and he ran for 100 yards and had an outstanding game. You give him credit for that. He played an outstanding game, except for the turnovers. Thought the turnovers might be a big factor in the game. Turned out to be. I mean, Alabama could have turned it over 8 times. It wouldn't have mattered. The way that Auburn was playing, we could move the ball down in the red zone, move the ball like we did most of the year inside from 20 to 20, but just could not take advantage of the opportunities that they had. And I thought maybe the Texas A&M game could be kind of a turning point, and we would see a different team moving forward. And I still think that was a signature win for Hugh Freeze, but we can't escape who we are. This is who Auburn's been all year long. They have not been able to capitalize on opportunities like that, and have not been able to score enough points to win games. So, it played out pretty much exactly the way that it was going to.
Yeah, I'll start, and I know everybody will jump in here eventually. I think Wade's having a little bit of technical difficulties with his camera for whatever reason. We'll hopefully get him added in, and Randy will be in shortly here in a minute. So I'll just start. I mean, you have to start with the offensive game plan, and you look at the situation where you felt like you were going to have to run Jarquez Hunter. You wanted him to go out on a high note. And he didn't do that because he only got 12 carries in the game and had a rush for 25 yards, but only ended up with 57 on 12 carries. And, we went in here again with a pass happy attitude. And Peyton Thorne, had some people text me and said, well, Peyton Thorne, he threw for 300 yards. But that wasn't the blueprint to beat Alabama, though. The blueprint to beat Alabama was to try to win the line of scrimmage and try to run the football. And Alabama had struggled all year doing that. And against Auburn, they were able to get it done. If you look at their stats, Jam Miller pretty much had his best game of the year. He had 24 carries for 84 yards. 28 carries for 84 yards. I'm not sure he had 28 carries in the last 3 games combined. I'd have to go back and pull it. But, of course, Jalen Milroe, we said if he runs for 100 yards, we'd be in trouble. And we were. He had 104 yards rushing on 17 carries and 3 touchdowns. He's their team. As Jalen Milroe goes Alabama. And if Jalen Milroe doesn't play well, Alabama generally doesn't play well. Now, the guys that we thought would be a big contributor in this game ended up not being a big contributors. You look at Ryan Williams, he had probably his worst game of the year. If you told me Ryan Williams was going to fumble and drop a touchdown pass and really only have 5 catches in the game, actually only ended up with 3 catches in the game for 53 yards, I'd have said, man, I love our chances to win that football game. But, everything was handed to Auburn in this game. They laid it on the ground. Jalen Milroe threw an interception. We couldn't take advantage of it. This offense is terrible. There's no other way to spin it. I'm tired of looking at it. I'm tired of the indecisiveness. Yeah, Peyton Thorne threw the ball 41 freaking times in this game. 41 times, 301 yards, a pick and a touchdown. That's not how you beat Alabama. Tennessee showed you how. Oklahoma showed you how. South Carolina kind of showed you how, even though they didn't win the game. But you had to run the football, and Auburn has the best running back in the conference, and somebody needs to tell that to Hugh Freeze because he didn't use him enough, in our opinion. I think I speak for you too, Andy. We had 10 plays inside their 30-yard line, 10 snaps there in the first half inside their 30-yard line. He got 1 catch. He didn't even get a handoff. So, I don't know what else to say. It's the same song and dance that we've been coming on here talking about for weeks. And Auburn does not make a bowl game. This is the 4th consecutive losing season. And Hugh Freeze is under a lot of pressure now, period. This is 2 years of mediocrity. The recruiting's been fine. I think the recruiting's going to end fine this year, I hope, next week as they try to get these guys to go ahead and sign. But at some point in time, you got to start showing some results on the field. And look, Texas A&M was a good win, but that's all it ended up being, Andy, was a good win. It wasn't some kind of unbelievable win. Texas went over there and handled them pretty much all night in their own building. So really to speak of, Auburn's had 1 quality win in 2 years under Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, that's no argument there. This is set himself up. We talked about this in previous weeks that he has done really nothing on the field to warrant a 3rd year, but he's got that 3rd year. And I think 8's the number. I hate to, you come into every season, that's probably not wise to do that, but
it's got to be, Andy. It's got to be 8.
I don't see how you can accept anything less than 8 wins next year. And so,
does he look disinterested to you? I've had a lot of people send me messages today and talk about it, and I've seen obviously things on social media. The guy just don't look like there's any urgency, and it's same old blah blah junk in the press conference about why things didn't. How many times is he going to say, well, we didn't call the right play down there, or maybe we shouldn't have gone tempo right there, or yeah, we didn't really coach that play well enough to Jarquez to tell him what to do. Well, you called the damn thing. You called the play, and everything is always hindsight. Everything is, well, we shouldn't have done that. At the end of the day, it's just like, man, the product on the field is a reflection to me of what's going on during the week. And I'm not sure there's a lot of good things going on during the week.
Well, you can't. I'm not going to boil the entire game down to 2 plays, but I will say that we have a quarterback that will throw the ball away on 4th down
I mean,
And we have all the momentum. We have turned the game around. We have just scored. We have turned them over. We got the ball at the 30-yard line, and we call a halfback pass from Jarquez Hunter, who's not, has no other option but to throw it all the way across the field, try to 30 yards downfield to the end zone. And that was the dumbest play call maybe of the year in that situation. And I mean, I don't know who called it. I mean, I guess we got three guys calling plays, but whoever called that play has absolutely no feel for how a game is going. They have no feel for how, how to move this offense down the field. I mean, it was just completely at the wrong time. It was the wrong moment for that kind of thing. There's a moment for that, but that was not it. And it was kind of a microcosm of the entire season, I guess.
Well, when you get down on the 1 yard line and you got to score touchdowns, obviously missed the field goal earlier in the game, came back, made one, but you got to get in the end zone. You got to score right there to really get some momentum. So didn't get it in the end zone there, and then you come out of sleep in the second half. Again, I thought our defense was fine except for the first two possessions of the second half. I guess they were still asleep in the locker room and just woken up, and Alabama was able to take advantage of that to extend that lead. But for the most part, we were chasing our tail. I thought the offensive game plan was horrific all the way around. I don't understand. After everybody knew what the blueprint was to beat Alabama, is run the football, and you got one of the damn best running backs in the country in your backfield, and he gets 12 carries. It just makes zero sense to me. We got Randy and Wade that's jumped in now. We got some comments coming in. We got a bunch to cover here today, guys. So we're going to go around the room. I'm going to kind of help moderate this thing. Randy, I'll kick it down to you for your initial reaction, and we got a lot to dive into.
Well, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Hugh Freeze. If you're an Auburn fan and you're out there and you want me to rose-colored glass this thing, you better turn it off right now because what I witnessed yesterday was a team that wasn't prepared. And it's not that it wasn't prepared defensively. I think DJ Durkin continues to get praise, and he deserves every bit of the praise that we're giving him. But we continue to go out there and hire offensive-minded coaches that are supposed to be quarterback whisperers, and they come in, and we get the exact same result that we've gotten for way too long. Auburn fans don't deserve it. We deserve better than what we get. This is 5 consecutive losses in the Iron Bowl. It's 4 consecutive losing seasons, and it's a whole bunch of mediocrity mixed in between over the last 15 to 20 years. And I've seen it and heard it, and and I want to say this before we kick it over to Wade. Hugh Freeze gives me the ibby-jibbies. I've been saying it all year. There's some part of him that whenever a mic gets in front of him, I think he's full of excuses. All we get is one excuse after another on why he can't put a winner out there on the field consistently. And I don't know that he's going to. The guy can recruit, but I have no confidence in his game planning ability. I have less than zero confidence in his coaching ability on the offensive side. If he wants to make excuses, and here's one of the biggest problems I have with him listening to his post-game press conferences or questions that come from Jason and others. How many times have we asked, Hugh, did you call that play? Did you call the play by Jarquez when you threw it out of the backfield over to a guy that's not Walter Payton over on the left sideline and asked him to throw a dime all the way across the field? No, we get excuses. We get excuses that, yes, I made that play call, but I didn't coach him up well enough because Peyton Thorne's over there wide open, and if we throw it back there to him. Have you gone and looked at that play, Brett? Peyton Thorne's not open. They got a safety that's like 8 yards in front of him. They throw that ball over there. He picks it off and runs it to the house. So Hugh Freeze is just full of excuses. He likes to have a couple of offensive coordinators mixed in with him so he doesn't – not everyone points and says, I wonder if he called that play. When have we seen this before, Brett? We just had Gus Malzahn leave. we've watched this, and I don't want to cuss Gus Malzahn because I think he's a wonderful individual. I think he's a great human being. I was telling my son that yesterday. I said, whatever you do, don't talk bad about Gus Malzahn. That's a good guy. That's a good guy. And I like giving people second chances. But there's part of me that every time a Mike gets in front of Hugh Freeze, I think the second chance is going to somebody that doesn't deserve it. So I'm done with it. Look, I hope that he recruits well. I hope we get this thing turned around. But as far as me sitting here day one after the Iron Bowl, watching what I witnessed this year in year two and all the excuses that we get from Hugh Freeze, I'm hopeful, but I have zero confidence in him moving forward that he's the right fit for Auburn. I don't know what our identity is. I have no earthly idea what we're selling. If you go out and sell it to receivers, what are you selling then? How in the hell are you going to go get a great running back? We just had the best running back in the SEC for 2 years. And we get in the Iron Bowl after he's had a couple of nice games. We give the damn football to him 13 times.
12.
And across the way, well, he had 13 touches.
Yeah, he got a pass. He had a token screen pass thrown to him after we had 10 snaps inside the 30-yard line. He didn't even get a carry. He just got a screen. I saw somebody label it a dang hospital play down inside the 30-yard line. I mean, the game plan, guys, just was horrendous.
One last take, and then I'll kick it to y'all. But I said the X factor to me all week was I'm hopeful that Alabama doesn't go back to what they've always been able to do, and that's just line up and run the ball down your throat and make you like it. And what do? Miller goes for 28 carries on Saturday, and we give our back 12. Now, there's nobody in the world that thinks Miller's a better running back than Jarquez Hunter. But we go into the football game with Peyton Thorne as our quarterback. You know, he's not even worthy of having the distinction of being put in the same breath as Jalen Milroe offensively or athletically. Jalen Milroe wasn't great, but, man, a play breaks down. He's got a chance to make one. And, you know, if they design runs for him, he can make plays out of it. Not us. Not this year. Last year, for whatever reason, Peyton Thorne could, but not this year. And I know I've been on a rant, but I'm done, y'all. I mean, I didn't want him to begin with.
Well, I don't get it over the way here, but his decision, let me throw one thing on Peyton Thorne. His decision-making is horrific. You know, like Andy said earlier before you guys got on, it's fourth down. He throws the damn thing in the front row. I mean, at least throw it down the field and give somebody a chance to make a play. When it's fourth down and you throw it out of bounds, you have no chance. And then there was one time he ran down the field and had an easy first down, and all he had to do was dive, and he slid. He kind of tiptoed up and kind of half slid. I mean, look, again, it's not all on him. I'm just glad he's gone. I don't want to see him. I'm glad we don't have to watch him play quarterback anymore. Hugh Freeze is as much to blame about him as anybody because he chose him. He chose to ride with him this year, and we're in this mess because we had really, really below average quarterback play all year and bad offensive game planning a lot of times. So that's why we are where we are right now. The defense played well enough to win all these games. Offense has played really, really bad most of the year. Wade, I'll kick it to you.
I want to know what we were doing the week leading up to the Iron Bowl in preparation of this game, because I didn't see any new wrinkles outside of some horrifically designed children in the play lot, triple Lindy, halfback pass, whatever you want to call it, at the worst possible moment. And then to have the audacity to come on after post game and say I got to coach him up to read the safeties better there, or throw it back to the quarterback who's covered up. That's all we got wrinkle wise from this offensive guru in the Iron Bowl. And meanwhile, across the field, Kalen DeBoer lined up in multiple tight end sets, leading everyone to believe that, you know, he was going to try and roll out Milroe just like he did running the ball against LSU and Oklahoma on the road in these subsequent weeks. And then he starts throwing to the tight end, something we haven't seen Alabama do in years. And he actually schemed and used the X's and O's knowledge and watched film and found some weaknesses in the defense until we could correct it to exploit the middle of the field, give a quarterback who was confidence was shaken after the Oklahoma game. That's no doubt about that. And gave him some easy throws to some reliable receivers and moved the chains and manufactured offense despite the fact turning the ball over 4 times. So what were we doing this week for extra preparation in an Iron Bowl where you had a generational opportunity to seize control of the state of Alabama in this rivalry and stick a hot butter knife in a first-year new coach and completely end any dreams for them, ruining their season once and for all in the college football playoffs? And that's all we got?
Yeah.
Just same old, same old? I didn't see any wrinkles. Why come we don't ever run any jet sweeps? You know, you look back at the and I watched a lot of old highlights of Iron Bowls. The second half in particular of the 2010 Iron Bowl was a master class in play calling. They were using the power of Newton and some bigger backs on the inside mixed in with Ontario McCaleb and the speed attacking the edge, going down the field, and they had Alabama completely discombobulated. We had one run play, it looked like, and it was handed off to Jarquez Hunter up the middle into a wall. This is one of the worst coaching jobs I've ever seen in my life.
It looked like a guy that had a big exam, and he went out for 4 nights in a row, stayed out till 2 a.m, came in, hit a lick at a stick, and said, look, I'm just going to go in here and see what I can do. And everybody I've seen have given Auburn an F on offensive game plan. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that was about the most malign, nothing of an offensive game plan that I've seen in a long time. And like you said, Wade, had an opportunity to really grab hold of some momentum in this state and do some things, but he got horrendously outcoached
Brett,
by Kalen DeBoer.
I found something that I wanted to read to everybody. This was over at the Bunker, and it's a review of Tiger Talk this past Monday from an article by one of the authors over there. Someone comes in and asks Coach Freeze about what they're doing for Thanksgiving. She wants to know where reverse Tiger will happen. Well, quote, I love getting together with our team and talking about gratitude. Each position room has adopted a family in need. They are responsible to go out and purchase everything they need to have a Thanksgiving. They'll deliver those tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll be together on Thanksgiving Day and then leave Friday for Tuscaloosa. When did they practice? Because I know they didn't practice Sunday. They never do. I don't think they practice Monday, and I think they always meet with the coaching staff, the players do, after Tiger Talk, and then the week begins for practice. When did they practice? Can someone go and ask this coaching staff and pinpoint exactly what they were doing to get this team prepared for the Iron Bowl? And look, it's real sweet and nice, and I appreciate these players giving back. Can we do that around Christmas when there's no football? It's one of the biggest opportunities of our lifetime in this Iron Bowl to make a statement. And we're out giving turkeys to families on Tuesdays and Wednesdays pre-Iron Bowl. I guarantee you, Kalen DeBoer and them were in there busting their ass, getting ready for this game. Were we?
Didn't look like it.
Hey,
Didn't
man,
look like it.
I tell you,
mean,
I want to go back to one quick thing and I'll kick it to Andy. But Wade said something I was thinking the entire football game yesterday in his first synopsis of the game. Where is the jet sweep look? You don't have to give it. But 2 weeks ago, we put Malcolm in, if you noticed, in the first half of the ball game, and we at least showed jet sweep. Just some eye candy. How many times in that first half? At least 6 or 8 plays, I'm guessing. Now, I don't think we gave it to him but once. But you've got to honor it. And we did we do it at all yesterday, Andy? Did you see a single play where we showed jet sweep? I know we didn't hand it on it, but did we even design one where your eyes got to go away from Jarquez for just a second with the idea that you may hit it on the perimeter? Did I miss one, or did we not run one like that all day yesterday?
I don't recall running one. I mean, I don't recall, we'd had some really nice success pulling the guards and running, off tackle with Jarquez. We did that against Vanderbilt with some great success. I think we did that against Texas A&M as well. So, you guys are giving the defense a pass. We didn't stop Alabama at all yesterday. Okay, I'm not giving them a pass yesterday. They were awful. The only team that stopped Alabama was Alabama. Alabama, if they don't turn the ball over 4 times, they probably score 40 points. That's unacceptable.
It would have been.
Look, the defense has played good. I'm glad they played good. I like DJ Durkin. They were good for most of the year. They were good, really.
Well, how about the offense? How about the offense step up for a damn chance and actually help the team out one time?
I'm not giving it. Of course, I agree with everything y'all said. But we were just not good at all yesterday. We looked like a team that had put everything into that Texas A&M game and didn't have anything left. I don't know why that was. That's on the coach for not getting them up for that. I mean, why were they tired coming out? I mean, why did they go into the locker room and just stay there and don't come out in the second half? And yet, having said all that, terrible game plan. You got a quarterback that'll throw it away on 4th down. You got a defense that can't stop. They're chopping you up like a head of lettuce. And yet still, we are sitting there and got the ball at their 30-yard line, down 14 with 12 minutes to play, with all the momentum, and we find a way to screw it up. And coming out of a timeout, mind you. And so that's where I look. I mean, big picture here. This game was a lot like the Georgia game in that, and it should be, because those are the 2 best rosters we played all year, and that probably should be. I mean, Alabama looked horrendous. They played a terrible game against Oklahoma, but you knew, and I knew, and everybody knew they were not going to play that way against Auburn. And they didn't. They came out and they played well. We were going to have to up our game to a different level, and I just don't think we're capable of doing that this year.
I don't think we're capable this year.
Why?
And as long as this coaching staff stays together, I don't know if we're capable moving forward. I have no confidence in them.
But answer the question. Why? Why?
Why do I have no confidence in Hugh Freeze?
Who's it fall on? No. He said I'm not. Randy said I'm not. You don't think Auburn's capable of stepping up? Why? What was the reason? It's got to be coaching, right?
I'm going to say this. I think that
there's quarterback.
There's a lack of there's a disconnect, I believe, specifically on that offensive side of the staff, in what it takes to be fully prepared and locked and loaded to compete week in, week out in big-time college football. Here's another article I found. I want to bring up something that's been rumor-mongered around, but now it's out there. This article slipped underneath the radar yesterday, guys. John Talty, CBSSports.com. Iron Bowl stakes are simple for Alabama's Kalen DeBoer, Auburn's Hugh Freeze. Tense offseason awaits the loser. That's the beginning of the article, and that's a fact. And you scroll down there about midway through this thing, and it starts talking about what each coach has done and how they've gotten here, and how frustrating this season's been for but still, they still got a pretty good power base of supporters. Ultimately, the recruiting has been excellent, really, at both places for the most part. But I'm going to bring this up right here. It says Freeze was largely hired for the ability to beat Nick Saban, Talty says. Well, okay, fine. Well, Nick's gone, all right? And he gave him all he wanted last year, still didn't beat him. Auburn currently has the nation's number 5 recruiting class, but he has frustrated some boosters with his time spent on the golf course when things aren't going well, according to Talty, as they obviously haven't this season, the optics of being on the golf course the day after a loss aren't great. That's not me. That's not you. That's not rumor board guy, message board rumor mongering guy. That is CBSSports.com. John Talty basically saying our coach is out there at the golf course.
Well, guess what, guys? I'm not going to brag. I'm going to brag a little bit on this podcast. We've been talking about this for 4 weeks. We haven't heard it on any other program. I haven't seen it put on a message board or anything. We've been talking about this because we've been hearing and we've had eyeballs and we've had people see it with their own 2 eyes. And you and I and everybody else we talked to about this knew this is unacceptable. I mean, what are you doing in the middle of the season playing golf 4 or 5 times a week? I mean, I'm disgusted by that. I mean, that's unacceptable at pretty much anybody's school, but much less an SEC school where you have this much riding on every single game. And it's the nonchalant attitude in the press conferences, the nonchalant answers that we get for everything. It's the unpreparedness. It's the reason you go out and run for 98 yards in an iron bowl and your opponent runs for 203 when everybody knows that's the stat that's always made the difference in this game. And when you go into that game and you have that advantage and you just decide you're going to throw the ball 40-something times, that is not the blueprint, man. I mean, everything around Hugh Freeze in this offense has been atrocious, guys. We were 4 of 12 on third downs. 4 of 12. Alabama was 12 of 18. Andy, it goes back to your comment. I know our defense didn't play the best, but they were on the damn field most of the game. I mean, we didn't convert but 4 third downs the entire game. We could not sustain drives. And when we got down inside the red zone, we couldn't capitalize. It was a microcosm of everything that's going on this year. And I don't really know what else to add to that. I mean, quarterback, but let me say one more thing about what Andy said. He said, you can't step up and do the things they need to do each week and poor quarterback play. Well, whose fault was that? Who put the dice in the middle of the table? Who pushed all his chips to the middle of the table on Peyton Thorne when we knew and all the talk off season was, are we going to go get somebody in the portal? And he decided not to do that. It all comes back to him.
Well, I've always said that, and this is not where I'm going, but coordinator picks. You know, coaches always get an opportunity right before they get fired to go out there and fire their coordinators and say they're going to make a change. Well, hell, they picked them. You and I and the administration and nobody else picked those coordinators. You know, and that goes a long way with being a great leader, is picking the right people to be around you. And for whatever reason, we can't seem to get that. One of the worst stats yesterday I heard, though, and until you hear it, you can't believe it. But we had 9 plays inside the 20-yard line, and Jarquez Hunter touched the football 1 time. And it was on that lofted screen pass across the middle.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about that about 10 minutes
I missed
ago.
it. It must, right. That's a ridiculous stat in its own right. And I can't be the only one of us 4 that was watching us go inside the red zone for the second time when we had to kick the field goal with 2 and think, would we please just start running this football? Please start running. And we won't do it. I mean, we refuse to do the basic things, and very little wrinkles in the running game also. I mean, most of it was just give to Jarquez between the tackles. I think Andy just said that. Just very little wrinkles. You didn't show any jet sweeps. You didn't have any of that. We got a huge week coming up next week, and I would love to stay semi-positive about this recruiting class. But I think the biggest question mark is how many guys we have leaving the program. You know, we lost an offensive line recruit yesterday. 6 or 7 hours before the game, we get the news that he's heading to Florida. I'd love to know this time next week.
Tavares Dice.
I'd love to know this time next week how many guys we get into the transfer portal.
Well, one's already there.
Well, Hank Brown's there, and I think we all expected that.
No. Hank Brown, that was a rumor. Hank Brown is not entered the portal. It's just Holden Geriner right now. Now, does that mean Hank Brown gets in there? Probably so, but right now it's just Geriner.
Andy, Wade, y'all suspect anybody that you just feel like's for sure? And how many of them could there be?
Well, here's I'll go first, and then I'll let Andy go. My thoughts are, and Hugh Freeze and his staff said this already, the first step is just to get to Wednesday and get it closed out and mitigate any damages on who you're going to – if you lose, anybody get flipped by some other teams. You've already had one, and that one's a huge loss. Is there time to get them back? Probably not. Who are you going to flip? If they end up with a decent, if they end up keeping just about everybody in that recruiting class, I'll predict that less people are going to leave the roster off the less players will leave this off this current roster. If it's a bloodbath Wednesday and it's Flip City and Auburn's the laughing stock of the recruiting world, and everybody, and we drop down to like 22nd in recruiting from being almost in the top 2, there's going to be a revolving door off that roster. So they go hand in hand. Now, I don't know anybody, I suspect some of these guys who don't play a lot are probably gone. Okay. But, and I don't know, I don't really have any sources and don't want any, but I do believe if you see this class fall apart faster than Enron stock, you better watch that roster too, and it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that as well. I think players are always a lot less over emotional than fans. That's just kind of natural. So we'll probably always overestimate how much they, are looking at these kind of things. Now, having said that, it will be interesting to see if we can get past Wednesday. I think things will calm down significantly, and the talk will be a little bit more positive moving into next year. But let me go back and say one thing on that. Jarquez Hunter, he only touched it once. He was going to touch it twice. And again, little things. It's so many little things. If Peyton Thorne doesn't leave him out to get killed there on the 2-yard line, throwing that, it was a smart play. You recognize the blitz. You leak Jarquez Hunter out. If you throw it to him with some pep, then I bet he scores a touchdown on the play instead of getting killed and not be able to make the catch. It's little stuff like that I think a quarterback, and I don't want to throw Peyton Thorne under the bus. The kid played with heart most of the time. He just can't. Some guys just can't rise up in big moments. It's just too big for them. I hate to say. That's just kind of who he was. And I wish him well with the rest of his life. Hope he becomes a millionaire businessman. But it's just he just could not make those plays, those little things, and this whole team. Little things that happen, and we just
majority
couldn't overcome.
Let me say something about that. I'm with you. I'm about tired of blaming Peyton Thorne. It's been bad. I think everyone can say that. But there's going to be a second side to this whole story, and he's going to have some words, I bet, eventually about what it was like.
Agree.
And I think that it's going to paint a picture of a team that's just not getting prepared properly week in, week out.
Agree.
And that's going to be my guess. And I hate to be that guy and say that because I think the time spent developing him wasn't always rolling every day, 24/7, 365. I think it was a shotgun approach to his development. And it reeks of and last year it was, I'm out, we're out recruiting, and I guess they're going to say that again. Just be patient, Auburn fans. Just be patient with us, baby. We're going to get there with this recruiting. Well, we've been patient long enough, and we're tired of it.
Well, 4 years, none of that ever in our lifetime have we seen 4 consecutive losing seasons. Okay. We can keep saying every little shiny thing that we want to go out and try to pull out and make this a shining star, but it's not. I think everybody is tired of the mediocrity. You get paid a lot of money to do a job, and we all feel like that job's not being done. What happens to people that don't show up to work in the real world. What happens to them? You know what happens to them. We all know what happens to them. They get shown.
They get a raise.
Well, a lot of them do. You're right, Andy. Depends on what profession you choose. Not in the
If you work
profession
for the
that we're
government
in.
before Doge, yes, you may get a raise, and you don't even have to go to work. It sounds like pre-Doge, but I'm hoping that's about to change.
Czach said, if it gets Freeze out of here, then I hope the whole class falls apart. Freeze sticking with Thorne is the whole reason they are 5-7. He can't make good decisions and call some stupid plays. Look, majority of his passes were to the sideline. I mean, it was, scared to death looking plays to me. I mean, everything was, sideline to sideline. You hardly saw anything down the field. The few times he threw it down the field, it was pretty successful. But, he knew that blitz was coming. And he knew it was coming. He cannot react and he can't make plays. And again, it took 2 hours and 20 minutes for that ball to arrive to Jarquez Hunter. I've never seen something float. So, it looked like zero gravity. He was like on the moon. And then, of course, he gets depleted. Look, it isn't all Peyton Thorne's fault, but it all goes back to the decision in the offseason to ride with him. He went out and got the best recruiting class, wide receiver recruiting class we've ever had. And the number one question, guys, on our show by fans and everybody else and amongst ourselves was, who's going to throw the ball? Is it going to be Peyton? Does he think Peyton Thorne's gotten that much better? Is Hank Brown or Holden Gardner going to step up? Is Walker White going to finally take the reins? What's the deal? And he rode with Peyton Thorne. He threw all his chips into the table, middle of the table, on that guy. And so we can all say we wish him well and all that, and I do too. I don't wish anybody ill will. But he was a terrible quarterback all year and last year. He won one game that you just went up there and you whipped somebody's ass, and that was Arkansas last year, period. And they were terrible. Missouri came in there the next week and beat them worse than we did. Look, we all know that the quarterback position in college football is the most important position out there. And when you have mediocre quarterback play, you're going to get mediocre results. But we got a mediocre offensive game plan week in and week out as well. So it isn't all on Peyton Thorne, but it's a big combination of those two.
Let me jump in on Alabama real quick. The most disappointing part of yesterday is to watch their actions also and know that we don't take advantage of that. Because Nick Saban's gone, my friends. If you watch them on the sideline and you watch them post game and you watch the way they carry themselves, he's gone. He is completely gone. Because you add Nick Saban to what we did yesterday, they beat us by 40. That's how far I think that they have fallen back. I believe that. I think that you add Nick Saban, take Kalen DeBoer out of the mix, all of those silly turnovers, everything you saw on the sideline, everything you saw post-game, everything you saw in the media, you don't see any of that. The reactions that you've seen from Jalen Milroe at times this year where he looks disgusted, you've never seen that from quarterback play when Nick Saban was the leader. So I think Alabama's coming back to the fold. Now, can we take advantage of that? I doubt it. I really don't think we can take advantage of it with Hugh Freeze because
we had a chance yesterday and we screwed it up.
Yeah, because I don't think that he has any better process on how to handle these young men than Kalen DeBoer or anybody else. I actually have less faith in Hugh Freeze as a person than just about anybody you could talk to me about that we throw out there. Brian Harson's pretty equal. But Hugh Freeze, I told you early in the show, he gives me the ibby jibbies, and I'm gonna stick with that until he proves me otherwise. That's just the way, the character that he has. I wouldn't respect him. I wouldn't let him lead me. I don't know about y'all three. There's no part of me that watches that guy and says, "Man, I want to be on his team. I want him leading my young man." No, when he runs up there and he has every excuse under the book on why in the world he can't put a winning product out there on the field. And I know as much as I know about him in his past life. I'm all about somebody getting second chances, but this screams of a guy that gets a second chance and doesn't take advantage of it. And I hope I'm wrong, and y'all can come back to this video when it all is said and done. But right now, that's my opinion of this guy. And it's not just mine. It's most that I talk to feel that way about him. Now, could wins cure that? Sure. But we wouldn't have to sit there and listen to what's coming out of his mouth in every presser and post-game press conference when and as Wade keeps going back to on his Tiger Talks on Monday night. None
Who
of that
listens
gives
to
me a
that?
feel. I just don't have a feel that this is going in the right direction. I don't.
Well, let me swing things in another direction, and we can come back to some of this. But yesterday, in every single rival game, there was a fight. We don't see a fight ever in the Iron Bowl. Now, we see some rough play, but most of those guys are friends. And after the game, they're taking pictures with each other, and they were recruited with one another. And I mean, there's all types of, banter back and forth. But at the end of the day, it's a clean, fun rival, intense. But it got ugly yesterday on the sideline. But it got ugly all across the country. And I've had multiple people today tell me, Alabama and Auburn fans, that if you don't think NIL and the lack of discipline is getting done across the country, then your head's in the sand. These coaches have no control over these players anymore. And I think you know why. And we all knew that Nick Saban wanted to get out because he felt like he was losing control. Well, the answer is 100%. Kalen DeBoer ain't had control of Alabama pretty much all year. I mean, you saw Malachi Moore act like a damn 5-year-old that didn't get a toy at Walmart in the Vanderbilt game. And he got a couple personal fouls yesterday. And then you saw the brawl that broke out on the sideline. And then you look at Florida and Ohio State, North Carolina State, and USC and Notre Dame. I can keep going. There was a fight in every one of them. I mean, if something's not done across the country to get this stuff reeled in, these coaches are having to kiss all these players' asses because they want to keep these rosters together. And they want to keep all this stuff, and they want to get all these players because their job's on the line if they don't have players. Well, they hold all the leverage now. And then it's sickening to see, to be honest with you. And I don't have any feel at all that these games really mean two hoots to any of these kids anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's a win, and maybe if you lose, and Andy said it, the players get over it a lot quicker than the fans. It just doesn't even feel the same to me anymore. I mean, all the way around. And I had that from multiple people today that texted and I talked to in person, and we've seen it all over social media. I mean, this is a rash across the country. It's not just in the Iron Bowl. I mean, Mississippi State and Ole Miss have always been bitter. But, I mean, every one of these games yesterday, there was some type of fight that broke out. They had to use pepper spray in the Ohio State-Michigan game. I mean, what have we fallen to, y'all?
Well, sportsmanship is something that should be generational. Unfortunately, it's been thrown out the window. And, I mean, you can just kind of go around several, even little league games at this point and see people acting out across the country. I don't understand it. I blame social media, but if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't be here today, right? Some of these quotes, are y'all looking at some of these quotes from the stream?
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Kilpatrick calls him Hugh Freeze. You now have the record for the worst play ever called in an Iron Bowl and coming out of a timeout with momentum, no less. I'm sorry, guys. Gus Malzahn would have had something for Alabama yesterday. He always had some wrinkles that he brought to the Iron Bowl, even in games where we got beat pretty bad late. He would move the ball and put up points on Nick Saban, and he would execute. Something two things I don't understand about Auburn's offense. They go fast, but then slow down and let the defense get ready for them. Gus Malzahn would have been having them moving up and down the field. And then secondly, you said it earlier, we never throw to the middle of the field. If you read Nick Saban's book on defensive theory, there's two extra defenders out there for the defense. It's one sideline and the other. And we keep going over there to the extra defenders. I think it was a scared play call. I don't think we were prepared for the task at hand. I believe that Kalen DeBoer had a strategy, and we really had nothing that we were just going to go in and try and wing it and out-athlete them and be loose. Well, you know what? That's not going to get it done against a quality opponent of anybody, especially Alabama in the Iron Bowl, who was looking to keep us up underneath their thumbs. And congratulations, they did it.
Andy, I want your take on the state of college football. I think we all are in agreement. I mean, it's the new world. We will accept it. There's got to be some type of law and order. I mean, there's got to be something. Everybody I've talked to this morning is disgusted. Alabama, Auburn fans, they won the game, and yeah, they're fine with that. But everybody's disgusted, man. All we talk about is NIL and how much money we're going to raise, and all these coaches do is go on a circuit and a tour begging for money. And I mean, it's across every sport, man. It's ruined the game for me.
Well, unfortunately, the way I look at it, it's there's no going back. Nothing's going to change. And when the revenue sharing begins, then to me, that really, it's only going to make it worse because, I mean, yes, you can have a salary cap and you can put it on it and you can make it somewhat equitable for the entire team. But all that does is put everybody on the team on a payroll. Then it's a job. It's a job to everybody. And like you said, there's no respect. How much do the NFL players respect their head coaches? I mean, they don't. That's what college football is going to become. So learn to love.
Already there.
I mean, this is what it is. Now they can put some structure on it, and they might do that to some degree, and it'll make it a little bit more even as far as you're not going to see guys, bidding $10 million on a quarterback just to get them there. I mean, there'll be some rules, and that'll be good. But college football has forever been changed, and there's no going back. Let me say one thing on the fighting, and I agree with everything you said, Brett, and I think that is part of it too. But I think it's as much culture. I'm going to say two things. There's as much culture as it is them making money. I mean, I talked to a referee that did I think it was a sixth grade or a little league kind of game, threw a kid out for throwing a punch in a sixth grade football game. I mean, it's more than just making money. It's just a culture is filtered down to the point to where, I mean, nobody's being, or there's a majority of people that are playing this sport that aren't being raised with any kind of sense of right and wrong. Now, number two, I'm just going to say, if you try to plant a flag on the middle of my field and my players don't fight you, I'd probably kick them off the team. That's one of those things that I just no, that's not going to happen. Georgia fans, 1986 came and tried to get on the field. We turned the hoses on them. You're not going to plant a flag in the middle of my field. That's one of those things in that Michigan Ohio State game. I didn't blame them for that, but it is overall. I agree with everything you said.
But I think it goes back, and I'll kick it down to Randy. It goes back to the coach of the players that have the flag that they're going to go out. Just don't do that. Look, I mean, don't do that. Just, you can win a football game, have a little class. I just have seen the lack of class evaporate in college athletics.
All the way around. Look, Auburn this past week, we were classless all week. We all know that. We all know that, and we tried to make an excuse for it, but we were classless. And we were classless in the game. We were classless after the game, and Alabama was right there with us, just as classless as we were. And, Brett, you're exactly right. That's not something that y'all just said. That's not something we've seen every year in the Iron Bowl.
Ever.
We may not like each other, but we respect each other. And I've never seen us like Florida and Florida State back in the day where they'd come out and bark at each other at the middle of the field. And I'm thinking to myself, who are the coaches here? Who are the leaders here?
No leaders.
None. One more thought that I have, and yes, Wade, you're right. Social media, first off, it's great for us here, but it's really tough because there's a camera always in front of you. But the ones that have really taken me back the worst are these post-game TikTok videos by the players in the locker room. They are the most rancid things you could that you could ever imagine by some of the key players. And I'm thinking to myself, some of the coaches that I know, I don't care if it's on social media or where it is, you're in a locker room in my uniform with my brand on your back, with your friends around dancing with you, and it's that vile. Could you imagine coming back to practice? Or let's take Alabama. Alabama gets in a fight with us, and I'm sure we were equally just as in the wrong as they were. It wasn't Ryan Williams. Who the hell ever wears the other number 2 for them? I don't keep up with them. But Byrne has to force him off the field. Their athletic director has to manually force this guy away from throwing haymakers over here. And I'm thinking, where have we gone here? How is he even allowed to take? First off, why is he allowed to play the next game? You take one of these rancid videos that we see. Any coach that we grew up with, any of us grew up with, you wouldn't play the next game. There's no way. There's no way you'd be allowed to put something like that out there with our brand on it and be allowed. Can you imagine Pat Dye letting you play when you did something like that? Don't bring Jeff Berger up. Jeff Berger was cheating on a test or something. That's not rancid video where you're in there cussing everybody out and it's as vulgar as you possibly can be. No, it's not that.
And quit lifting your shirt up, acting like you got a gun. I mean, this thing's gotten violent. I mean, it's like you see this culture stuff that we're watching on the field and off the field. I'll go back to Malachi Moore. I'm just using that. He refused to come off the field against Vanderbilt. His coaches were out there telling him to come on. He said, I ain't coming off the field. And they let him stay out there. And again, Auburn the same way. I can go on down the list with other things we've seen from players on other teams all year long. I mean, what about the wide receiver for LSU in the locker room? One of those TikTok videos where he looked like he was shooting everybody up in the room, and the language was just horrific. I mean, is this what you want? Like, Randy, you and I and Andy and Wade, we all had favorite players. Y'all know Lawyer Tillman was one of my favorite players. We all love Bo Jackson and Brent Fullwood and all that. We looked up to those kids or those guys as kids. Now, I mean, we still have kids that look up these players, but man, some of the stuff they put out on social media, is that what you want your kid trying to look up to? Is that who you want them to try to emulate?
Well, it's all over the country too. It's
all over. But
every program.
You said it though. You said it though. Where are the coaches? Why don't they stand up and say, get a team meeting and say, the next one of you that puts out a vile TikTok, pack your crap, because it ain't going on here. And they're scared to lose these players. It has come to the forefront a lot quicker than I thought. These coaches have no control over these players. They let them do whatever the hell they want to do, and they just hope they stick around. And you saw Hugh Freeze talk about it in the postgame show yesterday. He goes, I don't even really know who's going to be on our roster next week. He said, I'd like to think that we have good relationships established and all. And I kind of feel for him on that one aspect and all the other coaches, because that is the reality. I mean, Alabama lost Caleb Downs last year, man, after they went to the playoffs. I mean, he's the best safety in the country. They lost Isaiah Bond. Gary Harris and I on his show had a talk about Isaiah Bond. They painted a picture last year, the gravedigger, that catch. 4 weeks later, he's in the portal and he's gone to Texas. It don't matter to them anymore. He made one of the best catches in one of the best rivals of all time. Andy's got some pictures on the wall behind him. I've got them in my game room. Randy, you got them in your office. Wade, I'm sure you got them hanging on your wall of plays in Iron Bowls and Georgia games, and these players go down in history. And now these guys, it's like a few of those Alabama fans said, I don't want that picture. He don't even play for us anymore. And he made one of the biggest plays in Iron Bowl history. I mean, again, it's all subsurface. It's all superficial. Nothing means anything anymore other than the next deal, the next dollar, and I want to be able to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. That's what it's come down to.
I want to talk real quick. I want to get your thoughts on some of those post-game comments guys and see what you think about this. In the postgame, Freeze noted that the difference between the teams was that Alabama was able to convert on third downs and Auburn just couldn't score touchdowns. I don't think that was the only difference. That was just one of many. But the program is more than just the end result of games. The goal is that the players become true Auburn men in life. I'm not big on getting our identity from scoreboard, and I want our players to know that. I think that just goes without saying. And what you guys are saying is, and in this conversation about a lack of character, it seems like an integrity across college football, across youth sports. That should be the goal of every program eventually, right? But you just can't use that as a crutch when you're losing. You can't say, well, we're doing it the right way. Wink, wink, nod, nod, even though our players are out there fighting as well, because we're just trying to build Auburn men. That is one of the weakest, dumbest, just laziest try and rationalize getting your ass kicked for the 5th year in a row by Alabama that I've ever heard in my life. I don't like statements like that. At the end of the day, the coaches are there to win football games. I understand all the other stuff comes along with it, and there's a place for it, but I don't think it's in the post game after you just got beat by your rival when you weren't prepared for the task at hand.
He's an excuse monger. He is. He makes an excuse, and I think that him going out there and having a couple of extra offensive coordinators is proof positive for that. He wants somebody else he can blame it on. Do y'all watch him on the sideline? Who's calling those plays?
He is.
How many?
100%.
100%. He may have some coming from the booth with some suggestions.
Yeah, but that's
calling every one of those plays. But he likes to keep you in the gray. He doesn't want to take all the blame. He doesn't want to be the reason that we make a poor decision and call some kind of razzle-dazzle play when we run it down their throat. He doesn't want to take the blame for any of it. And those type of guys, those type of excuse monger guys, they're going to get you beat. And I'm hopeful that maybe he can get things turned around, but I'll leave it with that with y'all today. I mean, I just don't have a lot of confidence in Hugh Freeze doing it. I hope we hold on to this recruiting class. I hope he goes and gets the very best $10 million quarterback that he can in the portal, because that's what it's going to take. It's the only reason Cam Ward's not at Auburn right now is we weren't willing to pay what Miami was willing to pay. And you can say we would have been much different with Riley Leonard. I don't think Riley Leonard would have changed. I mean,
I don't think
Peyton Thorne's stats are just as good as Riley Leonard's stats. So the only one that would – sorry about that, Wade.
Yeah, the problem real quick is not the stats. It's Auburn's a heck of a good offense inside the 20s.
Yeah.
Their red zone execution is brutal.
It's horrible.
And they need to get somebody in there with a different set of eyes and start coming up with a little bit different strategy in the red zone. I understand that the kicking really messed things up this year. That's a given. But you're going to have to overcome and you're going to have to adapt. You got to stick the ball in the end zone. And when you got quality talent out there and you're not doing it, that's on your strategy. That's on your play calling. That's on your execution.
Andy's been putting these stats out every week. And offensively, Auburn's up there. I mean, in the country, and we've seen the stats of the other teams in the country that have comparable stats, and they're all like in the top 10 ranked. I mean, and Auburn's the outlier. And the reason being, Andy, is because we can't score. And we were, again, the Alabama game was a microcosm of our season. We would get down there and we would hand the ball off or get the ball to our stalwart one time in 10 snaps, and then we would get down there and come up with a bunch of bonehead, bogus calls from that offensive staff. If you want to just say it, Hugh Freeze, it is. And we'd end up settling for field goals. We can't score touchdowns. And if we don't hit a big play like we did in the Texas A&M game, we don't score, man. Most of those plays were big plays. We cannot actually take the ball from the 20 on in and just work it into the end zone by running and play action passing. I mean, if we don't hit a big play, we don't score points. And that's why we, in SEC games, averaged about 16 points a game, Andrew.
Well, look, I've been saying it all year, and this is the one thing that I still kind of am clinging to going into year 3 is that we were subpar at the quarterback, we were subpar at offensive line, and we were probably mediocre on the defensive line. We've got pieces. We've got some really nice pieces on both sides of the ball, especially on defense, that I think we can build around and get better. But not on the defensive line, we need to get a lot better. And on the offensive line, we need to get a lot better. That's how you build a team. And we have not gotten there yet. If we can, maybe we can't get there under Hugh Freeze. I think we can if we can be patient and recruit and do those kind of things. But that doesn't change any of the things that y'all are talking about, and I don't disagree with. I mean, Hugh Freeze. I said it when we hired him. I said I thought that he was a better coach than Gus Malzahn and a little bit better recruiter. Well, it turns out he's a lot better recruiter, and he's not a better coach than Gus Malzahn. At least he hadn't shown it so far. Now, he at Ole Miss, why did we hire him? People keep saying because he beat Nick Saban. No, we hired him because he took a horrendous Ole Miss team and won 7 games, then won 8 games, then won 9 games, then won 10 games. And he got better and better every year, and he made that team pretty good. Now, his play, I mean, the play of Auburn these first 2 years has been terrible. I mean, it's just not been good. So you bring in another really, really good recruiting class. You go out into the portal and get a really, really good quarterback and maybe a really, really good left tackle. And we'll see what we got next year, because you're going to only add really nice pieces to some really, really nice pieces. So that's what I'm clinging to that hope right now, because that's all I can do.
He's got two. I'm gonna hit you, Randy, here in just 2 seconds. He's got 2 losing seasons. Okay, so the pressure's on. Let's just be honest. Next year is do or die. And before you two came on, me and Andy were talking. I think the magic number at minimum is 8 wins next year. You better win 8 ball games next year. And you better show massive improvement. And you better get off the golf course, as Andrew says. Can somebody put up a website that keeps up how many days in the offseason Hugh, as a combination of Gus and Hugh, plays golf? I mean, let's be honest about it. We all feel like we're getting robbed right now. We've hired a coach to come in and rebuild this program, and he's not doing what he's supposed to do. And he's full of excuses, Randy. You've said it 100 times. He keeps using – I mean, we can only take so much. I'm telling you, he's played every card in his deck. It's time to put up or shut up. And if he doesn't show improvement next year, then you got to move on. You got to get rid of him. As much as I hate to want to go through another coaching change, you can't just keep somebody because you don't want to go through a coaching change. You got to try to get better, and he needs to show it, or he needs to hit the door.
Well, I mean, we're buying into another rebuilding project in year 3. I mean, we're going into the offseason listening to the same talk that we've listened to the last couple of years, and it gets tough to stomach. I want to close here, and then I'm going to step off and let the 3 of you finish. First off, I don't enjoy this. There's no part of me that enjoys coming on these programs and talking negative about our current coaching staff. And I want to say that you'll very seldom listen to any of us here on the Auburn Blitz talk negative, even about a coach like Butch Thompson last year that had a down season. Every one of us are 110% behind Butch Thompson. You just got the sense that guy just had an off season, but he's going to get things corrected. And I don't know that we've said a negative word about Bruce Pearl in 5 or 6 years, have we? He doesn't win them all. And I'm sure that somebody can go in there and dig in and find out why we haven't won them all. But I can tell you one thing, we love Bruce Pearl as much as we've loved any coach in Auburn history. So there's no part of me that enjoys this, but there's no part of me that's willing to come on a program like this and to be doing it as long as the 3 of us have been doing it together, Andy and Brett, and not call a spade a spade. And we've got four consecutive losing seasons and 5 straight losses to Alabama. If we're supposed to come on air and talk and act like we're happy with that, then you're on the wrong program. Can't do it. So War Eagle to y'all. Brett and I'll be with you again tomorrow morning at 8. There's going to be a ton going on this week. One, we get to go to Duke and play as possibly the number 1 team in the country. Pinch yourself, everybody. And I do think we got the best basketball program in the country right now. I watched Alabama last night. Mark Sears is going to have to go off to beat us.
Hey, and they lost a big piece yesterday.
I know
Right,
they lost a big.
Right, blew his knee out.
Yeah, I hated to see that. I was watching when he did it, but that team doesn't match us. We could lose to them over there in Tuscaloosa, of course, but I don't think they're anywhere near as good as they've been the last couple of years just watching them.
I agree.
But we are, and it's going to be a fun year, and we've got all of that positive to talk about. That's not really what I'm saying. Tune in. The rest of this week's going to be who do we close out in this class and how many defect, how many transfers get into the portal, and where are we going to be trying to fill in some of those gaps. It's going to be an action-packed week with that, and Brett and I'll also be on the road with the Super 7 this week as he and I will be calling the 5A and 6A games starting on Thursday night. We won't be calling the 7A game this year. We've got other great crews with us, so stay tuned in all 7 games on the HSA radio network this week. We'll have some posts going out tomorrow. Brett's kind of closing in on all of the affiliates that we'll have as part. And we've got a lot of radio stations from top to bottom here in the state that are reaching out to us. So I feel real good that we're going to have comprehensive coverage here in the state. So a War Eagle to all of y'all, and look forward to being back with you in the morning.
All right, buddy. See you tomorrow. All right, guys, I'll just let y'all close out. We've been on here a little over an hour. We have a huge viewership today, and I figured it would be. I'm with Randy. The last thing I think any of us want to do is come on here and talk about why we haven't done something and why we are in the situation we're in. But that's what we do. We talk about it. I think we all know the line has been drawn in the sand, guys. I mean, Hugh Freeze, he's played every card he's got. And it's time to put up or shut up. And Wednesday's a massive day for this program. And, Michael Riley Duckert has already gotten in the portal. Just got that notification. He'll have 2 years of eligibility to play somewhere else. He never was a factor here at Auburn. Played sparingly.
Except for penalties.
Yeah, except for penalties. Look, we still got to clean some stuff up, and we're still building this roster. So I will be honest and real about that. But Hugh's got to get some things reined in, maybe in his personal life. He needs to get his priorities in order. And you know what? If all this that everybody's talking about is untrue, then he needs to come out and say something about it, because I know he's hearing it. I know he's hearing all of this, not just us, but other programs and other beat writers, and probably the buzz is loud. I mean, so come out and say, if you're not doing that, just tell everybody. Say, man, I hear everybody saying I'm out on the golf course 2 or 3 times a week. Here's my schedule. I ain't playing golf 2 or 3 times a week. I'd love to, but here's what I've been doing. But if he don't come out and say anything about it, then it's probably true. And I hate to say it that way, but no, does he have to address stuff? He doesn't. But I would if I were in his shoes, just to say that ain't what's going on. And so, again, I'll let you guys go around the room. Andy, I'll start with you, and Wade, I'll let you close it.
Look, I think we all pretty much aired all of our grievances today, and that was probably a good thing. I'm glad the season's over, to be perfectly honest with you. It's been a tough season, kind of dealing with all of it. The team, I mean, look, trying to take a 10,000-foot view. Look, I mean, Auburn was in every game. That's the good news. You didn't play well. You were, you had some disadvantages. You turned the ball over, but you seemed to correct that. But you were in every game, within one possession. This team is not terrible. You add some more pieces here or there. You put a good quarterback with it. I think you certainly probably win 3 or 4 more games this year, but next year could be a much better year. But you said it, and I said it. 8's the number. I mean, Hugh Freeze has backed himself into a corner that next year is, it's make it or break it. And if he doesn't get it, if he can't get it done next year, then Auburn's got to move on. And that's a lot to say for one season, but the schedule is going to be just as manageable next year as it was this year. And so now Baylor closing pretty good. Baylor looks like a pretty good team. All of a sudden, toward the end of the year,
Well, of course,
that's going to be. It's about right. So you do what you got to do.
Well, Andy, I think you just said something I was about to bring up. I'm with Randy too. I don't like this. I'm a fan. I'm a jaded fan though because of Jabba and Auburn, and I mean after so many years, they're going to let you down more than they're going to pick you up. I think that we're all used to that, and I don't think that we're being. That's for most fan bases, right? Not everybody wins every game. I'm jaded to a point now where I'm going to speak out, and I think fans should speak out because losing like we have been losing for so long, the mediocrity. We haven't beaten Alabama since 19. We haven't beaten Georgia since 17. We haven't beat both of them since 17. 13, and you got to go, if you go back 20 years to 2004, we've only beaten both of those schools in the same year 4 times. 04, 05, 2010 and 2013, 5 times, 2017. But 17's a long ways. I mean, that's almost 10 years ago. So, and it's no guarantee that you go out and get a portal quarterback and they're the silver bullet. We've been through that. This is going to be a tough schedule next year. At Baylor to open up, they're 8-4 on a 6-game win streak. They found something out there. You host South Alabama in week 3. You don't think they're going to want to come up here and give you all you got? You're going to have, Arkansas at Arkansas. You get Georgia and Alabama at home, but you're going to have to travel to Oklahoma and Texas A&M.
Oof.
I mean, so they better get it together quick. There is no more, hey, be patient. That's not just for fans. That's for that program. They're going to have to dig deep and dial it in. But the thing that needs to happen before they do that and after they close out this recruiting class, they need to have some serious self-reflection and evaluation and be honest about it. What are our problems? Where is the disconnect? And get all the leadership in that program in one room and hash it out and agree to move on from our problems and fix them.
If it's you, though, that's the problem, then I'm concerned that it can be fixed. Because
if he can't self-evaluate and can't have a come to Jesus with his own program like any other leader would do. Heck, you see Nick Saban lose one game and he pivots out of his offensive philosophy. If you can't have some self-reflection after another brutal season, and I'm glad it's over too, Andy, by the way, this one's been especially hard. If you can't self-evaluate and you can't make change and you're too stubborn to do it, it's not going to get any better.
And I'm tired of the pep rallies. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. We have Coach Pearl to the Lake Martin Auburn Club summer meeting every year at Willow Point, and Coach Freeze has been able to come, and we've even had Butch Thompson and had our ADs and all. It's well attended. Justin Clayton and I made a highlight video for the meeting this past summer. It was packed to the gills because we had Coach Freeze and Coach Pearl there, and it was an Auburn pet rally like none other. And both got up and talked. I can't stand there and listen to Freeze anymore. I don't want to hear him talk about anything. I just want to see results on the field next year. I can't take the "we're going to" speech anymore. Just do it. We are going to Nike, by the way. So just do it. Maybe that's the slogan that we need to put on the wall is just do it. I don't want to. I'm Missouri, Andy. again, I'm living in that state. Show me. I don't want to hear about what you're going to do. Just show me that you're going to do it. And let's make some better decisions as a person and as a head coach. And you better understand that your seat's hot this year and you put yourself in this position because there were 4 games we should have won this year that you just completely blew. Now, again, we weren't going to beat Alabama yesterday because of the way we came out and played, but Alabama did everything under the sun to give us that football game. When you turn it over 4 times in the Iron Bowl, you usually lose, and you probably lose by a couple scores. But that's how horrifically bad we've been offensively, is that they turned it over 4 times and we couldn't do anything with it. And so I'm tired of that. You know, we've all hashed it out. You know, Alabama's had these years pre Nick Saban where they went through the doldrums, and you know we're going through in all of our lifetime the worst stretch of Auburn football in our life. I mean, this is it. We've had some spurts that have been bad. 11 and 12 were not good, but we were sandwiched in between 10 and 13, which were really good. You know, but this 4-year stretch with the end of Malzahn, Brian Harsin in there in the middle, and now Hugh Freeze with 2 losing seasons has been brutal. There's no other way to spin it. And you got to turn this thing around. And you need to turn it around starting next year. There won't be a next year for Hugh Freeze.
Agree.
Very well said. Thanks, guys, for having me on. War Eagle, everybody. Good luck to Auburn and Duke. I think that's going to be just one of the coolest things in my lifetime. And Auburn,
Yeah, it is.
I can't wait to watch it. Hopefully this recruiting class stays intact. The roster doesn't run away after they get some more help on the way. I think that's why they're tied together like Geminis, like twins. And we'll see. But I'm going to stress this, if they don't get some fresh eyes on that offense and upgrade what they're doing, especially in the red zone from what they did back in 14 and 15, and evolve that offense a little bit, I think we're going to be having these same conversations next year at this time. Y'all have a good one, and War Eagle.
All right, guys. Wednesday is going to be a big day for Auburn. It's going to be massive. The Duke-Auburn game in basketball, but it's signing day. Auburn has right now currently a top 5 class. Can they flip some guys like a Naeem Alford and some of those players? And can they come in and be convinced that they can help Auburn get over the hump, or are we going to lose some of these players to other teams? And we're going to have a mass exodus in the portal. Well, everybody needs to stay tuned. We're going to cover it right here on the Auburn Blitz all week. And we appreciate everybody that tuned in today, man. We had a huge viewership and lots of comments coming in. So we really appreciate that more than you know. Andy and Jim will be on Auburn Blitz at noon tomorrow. Randy and I will start the morning off at 8 o'clock on the podcast. And then Wade will be jumping in throughout the week as well. So, guys, appreciate you here on this Sunday, and we will see you guys in the morning. Thank you.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.